Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. Our show is a production of our nonprofit organization, the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, or THCF, and its affiliated political committee, CRRH, or the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp. We have some exciting hemp news stories for you tonight that we'll launch into in just a few moments. We have some film clips from the movie Grass and some more film clips from the THCF Medical Gardens, showing you some dank buds in just a little bit. Don Dupay is here to join me in taking your phone calls, as is Tim Pate, who will provide musical accompaniment and banter as well, I'm sure. But as we always do, just stand by, and we'll bring on the infamous dancing cannabis leaves. All right. Our show tonight starts with a story from the Los Angeles City Beat with some very exciting news. This was in the Los Angeles City Beat yesterday on Thursday, the 1st of February 2007. It's written by Dean Coopers. It's called A Change in the Weather. Progressive Dennis Kucinich, who's been a past guest here on Cannabis Common Sense, takes over a new House subcommittee signaling changes in our national drug control policy. The Democratic sweep in 2006's midterm elections has done more than finally install a woman as Speaker of the House. It's also put one of the most vocal critics of the ill-starred war on drugs in a position to affect federal drug control policy. On January 18th, actually, Ohio Congressman and presidential candidate Dennis Kucinich, one of the most progressive Democratic voices in the House, was appointed as the chair of the new House Government Reform and Oversight Subcommittee on Domestic Policy, causing drug reform organizations coast to coast to rejoice in the hopes that a moment for significant change may finally come. This new subcommittee replaces the now defunct Criminal Justice, Drug Policy, and Human Resources Subcommittee, which was headed by a staunch drug warrior, Representative Mark Souder, a Republican of Indiana. Kucinich will assume many of his oversight duties, including policy oversight of the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, the ONDCP, and the head of the ONDCP, the appointed drug czar, John Walters. One commentator on StopTheDrugWar.org crowed that the responsibility of overseeing the ONDCP has effectively been transferred from Congress's most reckless drug warrior to its most outspoken drug policy reformer. He is certainly the polar opposite of his predecessor, Mark Souder. Since the time the ONDCP was created in 1988, there have always been friendly people in the subcommittee that's overseen them in Congress. And the ONDCP's always been able to get what they want under the guise of protecting children and saving America from drugs. But Kucinich doesn't believe any of that. For instance, Kucinich is a supporter of industrial hemp, the non-psychoactive product of the cannabis sativa plant. He's also a supporter of medical marijuana and of the federal rescheduling of marijuana, where it's currently illegal as a Schedule I drug classified as having no medical value. This classification clashes with states such as Oregon, California, Washington, Colorado, and Hawaii, which have legalized medical use of marijuana, and leads directly to the current rash of raids on medical marijuana dispensaries by the federal DEA, our Drug Enforcement Administration. Kucinich is expected to be a sponsor of a new bill introduced in March that would decriminalize cannabis at the federal level. Washington insiders, however, are not holding their breath for great upheaval in the federal drug policy overall. Sources close to the appointment, who asked not to be named, say that Speaker Nancy Pelosi and other members of the Democratic leadership have effectively embargoed major crime or drug policy legislation for the next 2 years to avoid looking soft on crime in the 2008 election. Kucinich, however, is promising a couple years of entertaining and edifying hearings. Kucinich said in an interview on Sunday in Culver City, where he presented his bill for universal health care coverage, which he's co-sponsoring with Representative John Connors. He said, quote, "We're going to open up discussions to new hearings. We want to explore the federal government's policies and the Department of Justice's policies on medical marijuana, for example. We need to also look at the drug laws and how they've brought about mandatory minimum sentences that have put people in jail for long periods of time. I think it's an appropriate time to look at the proliferation of drugs in America and how that fits in with our health care crisis and how that fits in with law enforcement," end quote. The Office of National Drug Control Policy did not reply to several requests for comment. That office, however, which is a function of the executive branch, has been deeply involved in pushing heavy sentences for non-violent drug offenders and resisting medical marijuana, buying big money ad campaigns attacking marijuana in states trying to legalize it at the state level. Controlling that ad money could be a key to reform. When asked if his subcommittee has any budget oversight or other muscle, Kucinich said, "No, this committee does not have control of the budgets. It does have control of the policy, and it can ask questions and get documents that others couldn't get," end quote. One can obviously empathize with Democratic leadership's desire to be cautious when it comes to supporting drug policy reforms and other sentencing reforms, but when you have a growing number of Republicans supporting sentencing reform, this might be a good time for the Democrats to show a little leadership. In fact, several activists point out the new Congress may be the most sympathetic to drug law reform that America has ever seen. Progressives like Senator Richard Durbin and Representatives Pelosi, George Miller, Conyers, Barney Frank, Henry Waxman, Dennis Kucinich, and Bobby Scott have all turned up in leadership positions. If we had to pick our 40 best friends in the United States Congress, they'd be disproportionately in leadership positions today. Still, action on several fronts is expected. Sentencing reform should get some attention with an aim of reducing the number of nonviolent drug offenders currently getting long prison sentences, which has given the United States the highest per capita incarceration rate in the world. One such change would be to make sentences involving crack cocaine equal to those given for powdered cocaine. As community activists have long contended, these simply punish the black and the poor who are more likely to use the drug in the form of crack. Hearings might also bring new media scrutiny to decades-long marijuana rescheduling motions and several Data Quality Act petitions, which force bodies like the Food and Drug Administration to make decisions based on science rather than ideology, and which have been roundly ignored by the Bush administration. We hope Kucinich will say, "Drugs are, Walters, we, the Congress, and the people, and clearly your own constituents, want methamphetamines as the #1 priority, not marijuana." And certainly not in the states where we have medical marijuana laws. A couple of weeks ago, Walters was out in Fresno giving awards away to officers for busting cannabis clubs. Dennis Kucinich can clip those wings. It all depends on how far Kucinich will go, and he hasn't been shy in the past. Once again, Dennis Kucinich has been a guest on the show a couple of times and is against marijuana prohibition. We look forward to his acts in the near future. Our next story is from New Mexico, published today in the New Mexican, and the author's Diana Del Maro. Medical marijuana faced an easy panel passage and gives hope for supporters. Yet again, a medical marijuana bill has sailed through a New Mexico Senate committee, creating a sense of hope for those who want New Mexico to become the 12th state to allow patients to use cannabis for the relief of pain and nausea under a doctor's supervision. An estimated 50 to 200 patients with conditions such as cancer, glaucoma, multiple sclerosis, epilepsy, and AIDS would benefit, the proponents say. Supporters were outwardly elated after a unanimous vote in New Mexico Senate Public Affairs committees, but they were more cautious in private. For the past 2 years, a nearly identical bill found favor in the Senate, then stalled in the House. In fact, last year the initiative even won the support of Governor Bill Richardson and his public backing, but ultimately died in the New Mexico House Agriculture and Water Resources Committee. No one's sure where the governor stands now that he has his eye on the White House, and his spokesman did not return calls for comment. But the passage of that bill looks pretty promising, and we'll be looking at that more in the future. Our last story is from Kingston, Jamaica. Marijuana use is prevalent among sickle cell patients. Marijuana smoking is far more prevalent among Jamaicans suffering from sickle cell disease, or SCD, than among the general population, according to survey data published in the current issue of the West Indian Medical Journal. Investigators at the University of the West Indies in Kingston, Jamaica, surveyed the cannabis smoking habits of 145 men and women with SCD. Researchers questioned patients' use patterns in 2000, then conducted a follow-up survey in 2004. Among those surveyed in 2004, 19% of women and 65% of men with SCD reported smoking cannabis. By contrast, among the Jamaican population, only 10% of women and 37% of men report having ever smoked marijuana. Though Jamaicans with SCD use cannabis in greater numbers, the authors did not attribute this increase exclusively to symptom management, noting that only 6% of those surveyed associated their usage with combating the disease. The authors of the study concluded their study, quote, "There's no suggestion that smokers and non-smokers had different pain profiles. There was little difference between smokers and non-smokers in the median number of pain events," end quote. Investigators did not assess whether there existed a possible link between the frequency of cannabis use and the amelioration of SCD complication among those surveyed. You can see this entire article online, the full text, which is called "The Prevalence of Marijuana Smoking in Young Adults with Sickle Cell Disease, a Longitudinal Study," appears in the West Indian Medical Journal. That's the end of our Hemp News segment tonight. We've got a brief film clip now from Ron Mann's film called Grass, which is narrated by Woody Harrelson. Stand by, and I hope you enjoy.
Penalties. The government is going to enforce this new law to the letter.
All the jive is gone. Prohibition cannot be enforced for the simple reason that the majority of American people do not want it enforced and are resisting its enforcement. That being so, the orderly thing to do under our form of government is to abolish a law which cannot be enforced, a law which the people of the country do not want enforced.
New York's prohibition-fighting mayor, Fiorello LaGuardia, was somewhat skeptical of the government's claims that marijuana was causing murder, rape, and the destruction of America's youth. Wanting to get the facts, he commissioned a study by a group of 31 impartial scientists. After 6 years of medical and sociological research, the LaGuardia Commission found smoking marijuana did not lead to violent or antisocial behavior. Smoking marijuana did not cause uncontrollable sexual urges. Smoking marijuana did not alter a person's basic personality structure. Item by item, the Commission's report disproved every negative effect claimed by Harry Anslinger. Furious, Anslinger used his influence with the press to have the report discredited and destroyed every copy he could get his hands on. And by restricting the supply of marijuana, he put a stop to any further research. Not taking any chances, Anslinger ordered his men to dig up dirt on anyone who disagreed with him, and going on the offensive, he targeted the entertainment industry, which he saw as a degenerate moral influence.
told you I'd wait until he was grown. Well, now he's growed and he gets his legacy. Only it's made out of hemp.
Dreamed about a reaper 5 feet long.
Not wanting any trouble with the government, the Hollywood studios agreed to give Anslinger personal control over all movie scripts that mentioned drugs. And movies he felt sent the wrong message were just banned.
The queen of everything.
Smoke it, you'll go crazy. That's what they said.
Sure, there must be some special place in hell for that Anslinger guy.
I sure hope so. I sure hope so. How many, that countless thousands, or maybe even millions, have suffered because of his lies to help his cronies. And well, I want to welcome you back to the show. We have Mr. Don Dupay, a retired Portland police officer and detective here, and we'll be taking your phone calls. You can call us at 503-288-4448, and we do have a call. Hello, caller, you're on the show.
Right now.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. This is going to be brief. I got a question and then a comment. I'm going to answer them both, and then I'm going to get off the line and listen to it. The first question is, the paraplegic Stubblefield, I'm wondering what happened to him in that case, and the comment behind that is, how is it that they pick someone like the disabled people like that and target them for a prosecution, and other people they haven't even touched? Like, you guys come on the show, and have y'all got any static from the authorities? I mean, y'all get on and
no, we haven't. But we're pretty public here, and this is a really popular show. But when Stubblefield had several marijuana plants seized by the local drug authorities down in his county, and a DEA agent who had come in surreptitiously, I heard about that a few weeks later and took him several more marijuana plants and replaced his garden and got it going again. We had a big news conference at his house to show the delivery of the plants and everything. The police never went back there and never bothered him again. We sued the DEA and the federal government on behalf of Leroy Stubblefield. That case was thrown out eventually, but the federal government never prosecuted Mr. Stubblefield. They just came in and took his marijuana. So that's the good thing. We haven't had any subsequent federal interactions with medical marijuana patients here in Oregon since then. So that's good.
But it really sounds pretty strange, guys disabled, well, I don't know. It just sounds pretty strange,
It was strange.
It was strange. It was pretty evil of them, too. It wasn't a good thing. But thanks for your phone call. It was a good question. If you're out there and you have a question for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. We'll be taking your calls right up to the top of the hour. How have you been doing this week, Don?
I'm doing good, Paul.
Good. Good. And over there, Tim, how have you been?
I have been excellent. Had a really good week. Had a chance to find myself in a magazine this week, and so sometimes
I saw a little
life
picture
is different.
of you, a small, little fuzzy.
Little
but
fuzzy.
There you are in high times.
That explains most of my awareness all the time. A little fuzzy. And there I am in high times.
I can relate to that. We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. The get-together at Mount Tabor, that's, next Saturday?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's on the second Saturday of each month. And that's at the corner of 49th and Southeast Hawthorne. It's right in Portland. It's at the Mount Tabor Theater and Pub. I think that's Sabala's Mount Tabor Theater and Pub. That puts it on the 10th of February.
What time of day would you be
the
smart
doors
to get in
close
line?
at noon, so you want to be there. I think they open at 11:30 and they close at noon, and the business gets underway shortly after the doors close. It's only open to medical marijuana card holders, so if you don't have a medical marijuana card, you can't come. I understand You also have to be an Oregon Normal member. You can get a membership there at the door if you so desire, or if you have a membership in the past year, then you're welcome to come on in.
And I don't need anything but those 2 pieces of paper?
Yeah, your ID and your medical marijuana permit.
I did start to do the paperwork and seeing a doctor for getting the card.
Uh-huh.
And I did find out that all the health clinics in town that are Multnomah County Health Clinic, including the VA and almost all hospitals, you have to actually sign up and become a patient before you can be seen, which is like a week of time to do that. So Providence Immediate Care Center can see people pretty much. Well, they saw me really fast for chronic pain in a pulled back muscle. So just thought maybe that information would help.
Yeah, that's good information for people out there. But thanks for your call.
Yeah, thanks. Keep up the good work.
You're welcome. So Oregon Normal's going to have their second Saturday medical cannabis meeting. And then on the next day, on February 11th, the Church of Cognitive Therapy, in conjunction with the Newborn Tribe, will have a cannabis-oriented religious service. That's from 4 to 5 p.m. on Sunday, February 11th. And then they have a 5:30 potluck dinner with music and free anointing using holy oil from Exodus 30:22. So it says that all who have a sincere interest in cannabis as a sacrament are invited to attend these services. They'll be at 3525 Northeast MLK Boulevard. That's 3525 Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard right here in Portland. For more information, you can call 971-207-1881. You have to be 18 and older and have ID to get into that. We have another caller, though. Hello, caller.
Hello, am I on?
Hey.
Hi. Hi, Don. This is Barrett.
Hi, Barrett.
Hey.
I got a question. I just got my green card in the mail. It has the seal on it. With
Yeah,
the lock
congratulations.
Lock and the key.
That's the Oregon medical marijuana permit card.
Yeah, it says on there whenever I'm going to carry it or something, I have to have that card.
Yeah. And then the white certificate that's in the middle of that, you need to put that up in your grow room, too.
Okay, and here's my question.
Go ahead.
If somebody is on Section 8 housing, which is governmental, and on their green card it says that's the grow site and all that, but I wouldn't want to gamble my housing.
Certainly. Well, you don't have to, because the courts have already adjudicated this long ago. The courts have ruled that as long as you have a medical marijuana permit, then you can grow for one patient per Section 8 housing. You couldn't take care of another patient and grow 2 patients.
Just myself? I could grow for myself, is that what you're saying?
Just grow for yourself, exactly.
Like 2 plants or something? Or?
Well, you can have 6 plants that there's no limit on their size, and they can be flowering or not flowering. And under Oregon's law, you can have 18 plants that are less than a foot tall and less than a foot wide. And so that's 24 plants total with limitations on the size of 18 of them. 6 of them, there are no limitations. The 18 cannot be budding. The 6 can be budding, but they don't have to be.
I'd probably just have like 3 or something and just keep them.
You'd be just fine and well under your limits at that
point.
But
what scared me was the manager said that if you're even going to use it, you can't use it in the building.
Well, your manager just doesn't know, but you know what? I just wouldn't. I wouldn't talk to your manager much about it.
So anyway, my other thing is I have no medicine right now at all, and I can't get a hold of anybody. And I've been to every single Oregon Normal meeting that I can possibly go to. I've been to every one, which is just 2 of them. And
well, they have them once a month, and I know you certainly don't get enough medicine there to last for a month.
Right.
They do have plants for people to help them get their garden going. And the way they work that is they give out a little package of marijuana as you go out the door. The more that's donated, the more they can give out.
Okay, I was just wondering if you had any suggestions for someone who had a a donation to make to the cause, it might be able
Well,
to
you
help.
know, when you go to those Oregon Normal meetings, you should talk to people. Don't just sit there and be a wallflower. Go and say, I'm looking for a caregiver to a bunch of people and see who can help you, because there are caregivers that go to those meetings trying to find patients and vice versa. However, the caregivers can't get up and shout it. They talk to people one-on-one, and so that's...
Just keep going, keep going, keep going.
Exactly. And next time, go around and ask people, can you be my caregiver? That's one of the ways you can do that. Never hurts to ask.
Is there any suggestions what a guy could do in my position? I've got a, you know, I'm out of medicine, and it's just...
You know, it's difficult. It's difficult. There's no place to legally buy it. It's legal for you to buy it on the black market, but if you don't have the money for that, then all you can do is look for those donations. There are several groups out there, and the best thing I think would be to go to that meeting next week, or if you'd like, contact our office, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Wish I could be a little more help, but demand exceeds supply, unfortunately.
And now that he knows he can grow, he should consider it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He should grow. Everyone should be growing their own if at all possible, because it definitely empowers you. It takes a while. There's a learning curve in cultivating cannabis, especially if you have to do it indoors. It's a whole science unto itself. But there are a lot of books out there, and for the folks out in Section 8 housing, there are legal judgments that protect you. They say you can only grow, you know, for one patient, which is, as we said, a total of 24 plants, with 6 of those without any limits on their size. So that should help.
Some of these downtown landlords, too, I've heard more than one patient say, well, they can't even smoke in their room. Sure they can. Just so many landlords are ignorant about it.
Yeah, that's true. I've heard landlords coming around and sniffing at the doors and stuff like that. Hey, if they got nothing better to do, you know, what can you say? We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hi. I was wondering if you'd elaborate a little on the contradictions placed on people in society that marijuana is demonized and alcohol is basically accepted, when actually it's much more dangerous and people are much more violent.
Uh-huh.
So I was wondering if you could talk about that.
Sure. Well, you know, I've said for a long time that the prohibition against marijuana is not about drugs. It's not about marijuana. It's about money and the continued centralization of economic and political control. That means is industrial hemp as a fiber and hemp seed oil as a fuel and a hemp as a food pose an economic threat to the petrochemical industries, and they created a misinformation campaign to demonize marijuana, and that just helps the liquor industry and the beer industry. You know, what we found is that the more marijuana is used, the less of all these other drugs are used. Obviously, the pharmaceutical companies and the beer companies and tobacco companies don't want to compete with marijuana, and so that's part of it. But the real key, I think, are the petrochemical industries, because anything you can make with oil, you can make with hemp seed, and that means plastics, textiles, food, many different things. And so hemp is prohibited to protect those industries, and they demonized it. And basically, there are groups out there, the prison guards, the drug warriors, the folks out there who profit from the status quo, who are fighting tooth and nail. And, you know, a lot of them believe what they say, but they're just misguided, and we have to educate them. So that's the key, and that's what this show is about, educating everyone so we can tell the truth about cannabis to those who would spread misinformation about it. So there you have it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling. We have a little film clip I think we're going to run here of our THCF Medical Gardens, and Mr. Tim Pate is going to provide lovely musical accompaniment. Are you ready, Tim?
I'm always ready, people.
Okay, hit it, bro. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Full house audience tonight.
I know, our audience is growing.
Yes, happy Groundhog's Day to everybody.
That's right. Did he see his shadow today?
He did, I'm afraid. He's going to have 6 more weeks of thumpy weather. So. Hey, it happens. It's Groundhog. You can blame it all on him.
I will.
It's not global warming. It's not even climate change. It's
that
the
groundhog in Pennsylvania.
Yes. Like President Bush said last summer, you think it's warm now, just wait 6 months. It'll cool off. That's always been his philosophy. So anyway,
I don't know. In 6 months, I think it'll probably be a little cooler, at least around
it was.
here.
It cooled off naturally.
We have a caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hi. I was just wondering if you guys knew when the next time you can vote for the legalization is.
Well, that's a good question. Vote for the legalization. This year, there were 2 states that actually got to do that, and that was the first time in a couple of years that had been voted on. The state of Colorado voted on legalizing marijuana, and they got 42.5%. The state of Nevada voted on legalizing and taxing the sale of marijuana up to an ounce through state stores, and that got 44%. Stay tuned. It's a little early now for us to say where will be the next place. I think MPP says they're concentrating on 2010 in Nevada. We may have an initiative here in Oregon, but time will tell on that. Our organization, the political wing, CRRH, or the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp, has a model for regulating and allowing adults to buy marijuana through a state store system. It's called the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act, or OCTA, O-C-T-A. And it's been proposed in the past. If we have support, we might do it again for 2008, but we're not sure of that yet. So stay tuned.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome. If you want to get involved in the movement to end adult marijuana prohibition, restore industrial hemp, or help medical marijuana patients, or you or a loved one needs a referral to a physician that can help you get a medical marijuana permit, then we can do that. Our organization has referrals to doctors and can get you involved in the movement to end adult marijuana prohibition and restore industrial hemp. Just call us. In Portland, the number to call is 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. If you are outside, if you're in Seattle, we have a Seattle number up there. It's 206-878-1701. That's 206-878-1701. For our viewers in Denver, the Denver number is 303-403-9996. Again, that's 303-403-9996. This show comes on every Tuesday and Thursday night on Denver's cable channel 58. Cable channel 58 every Tuesday, Thursday night at 11 p.m. And for our viewers who are outside of the major metropolitan areas and maybe watching this on YouTube or Pot TV on the internet, you can call us toll free. We have referrals to physicians in Oregon, Washington, Hawaii, Colorado, and California. So call our toll free number at 1-800-723-0188. Once again, that's 1-800-723-0188. We have a caller who's been standing by. Hello, caller. You're on our show.
Greetings, gentlemen. How are you doing this evening?
Very well, thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you very much for all the work and help that you do for the community out there.
Thank you.
If it wasn't for you guys, a lot of the patients out there just would have a hard time with doctors.
That's true.
And I kind of just wanted to hit on a spot from one of your other callers, Eric, there, that you guys have a site up now, don't you, that you have some cloning and trading and that kind of stuff going on?
Yeah, and it's for patients only. It's a patient forum that's through our website. You can look at hemp.org. That's a website that's now a THCF website. It's just HEMP.org. Or you can go to our nonprofit website. It's THC-foundation.org.
Great.
And so if you're a patient, you need a password and a login to get into that site, and just call our office or come by and we'll be happy to provide that. It's a patient-only site where patients can trade medicine and clones.
I look forward to getting there and taking a look and signing up myself. I haven't been there yet. but I had heard you talking about it, and I wanted to suggest that to Eric.
That's a good idea. I wish I'd thought of that.
And I know that some of the problem is with what's going on out there with the media right now is just incredible how it's bogged down. You just don't hear anything that's in the mainstream. It's so hidden, and it's almost like you have to go out there and search for these sites to find out any real information.
Yeah, there's news out there, but the mainstream media rarely reports it.
Yeah, there sure is. And the other thing is with these doctors, I found out that there's a lot of doctors now that are, they might sign you for your card, but if they have you on pain pills, they won't do you both. And I've seen a lot of patients, I'd say probably within this last year, that are getting told that they have to make a choice between their card or their medicine. And I don't know what, if anything, can be done about that, but it's just, it seems like especially the Legacy, which is just about every hospital in town nowadays, it's like corporate hospital, and it seems like as we come into these corporate hospitals that they're coming up with these policies, and of course I know that part of the reason is probably because they have that DEA number that they have to write out for all those opiates that they give out.
That's true. The DEA tracks all of those pain pharmaceuticals, and if a doctor gives out too many of them, then they're going to be scrutinized.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll cut it short. I wanted to just say thank you again so much, you guys.
You're welcome. Glad to do it. Don, you have an editorial for us tonight?
Yeah, Paul, we were talking about alcohol a little bit earlier and why they don't support the medical marijuana people. Or Americans, young and old, spend so many of their waking hours getting high, altering reality. And where do we get our get highs? Well, do you get it at the local dope connection? Most of us start out our day in the espresso line at the convenience store with a strong cup of coffee. You want one shot or two, and shall I leave room in there for some cream? I guess the idea is to get as much caffeine in you as quickly as possible. And if there's not enough caffeine in that coffee, grab one of those rocket chocolate candies at the checkout stand. They contains enough caffeine as another cup of coffee. Get your morning buzz on caffeine. That's how most of us start our day. Wake me up, pick me up, slam me into reality with the first drug of the day, our caffeine. Then there's alcohol. You know, what the hell happened to alcohol anyway? When I was coming up, and a lot of you guys will remember when 3.2 beer was all you could buy. Hams or Millers or Oldie, if you remember Olympia. Then I remember,
It's the water.
It's the water, yes. Then I remember along came Old English 800. That was a lot stronger, and for a long time, OE 800 was about the only thing around. Then it seemed to kind of explode, this concept of putting more and more alcohol in a can of beer. Several years ago, a friend of mine gave me a can of Steel Reserve. I thought it was beer. I drank a thing, and I could hardly walk. Now they sell dynamite in a can, one brand they call Sparks, 6% alcohol. Then there's Tilt. That comes in at 6.6. And finally, Liquid Charge, which comes in at 6.9. And as a bonus high, as long as that's not enough, they add caffeine and guarana, which is another form of caffeine, and then ginseng, and apparently it still isn't right, so they add yellow dye number 5 to make it pretty. Now, isn't alcohol a depressant, and isn't caffeine a stimulant? Back in the day when I was shooting dope, mixing an upper and a downer was called the speedball. Speedball in the can right here at the 7-Eleven. These cans of Sparks and Tilt and Liquid Charge are brightly colored to attract your attention. And then Coors came out with a can they called the camouflage can. What was up with that? It says right on there, camouflage can. Are they marketing to the camo crowd, the redneck football people, or is it just making it easier to throw out the window so it disappears into the grass? I can see a camouflage can coming along that matches the upholstery in your car so the cop won't see the open can sitting next to you. And then there's the newest low of lows. Lemonade has lost its innocence. No more childhood corner lemonade stand. It's now hard lemonade. Comes with 5.2% alcohol. That's about the same as a can of Coors. Comes in lime and cranberry, too. Made in Canada, by the way. We seem to get a lot of our get-highs from Canada. BC Bud, Canadian whiskey, and now lemonade. And now we get all our stuff from the grocery store. We seek to get a further escape of reality with our music. Everybody runs around with an iPod in their ear or a Walkman in their pocket and get their earphones in just right and get out of here. No wonder George Bush was able to steal the country. Nobody's paying attention anymore. All this talk about alcohol has made me thirsty, Paul. Let's go get a couple of Jell-O shots after the show. That's the way I see it tonight, right down here on Hemp Street.
All right. Thank you, Don. We have a caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Yeah, I'm doing a report on school, and I need to know, like, what are the current laws in Oregon?
You mean marijuana laws?
Yeah.
Okay. Possession of less than an ounce is a fine of not more than $1,000 and not less than $500. Sale of any marijuana is a Class B felony. Possession of more than an ounce of marijuana is a Class B felony. Cultivation of even one marijuana plant illegally is a Class A felony. If you give away 5 grams or less for no consideration, that needs no money and not trading for something else, then that's the same as simple possession. And that's a violation. It's not considered breaking law. It's not on your permanent record. So possession of less than an ounce and giving away 5 grams or less of marijuana are not technically breaking the law, but they're a violation that can lead to a fine with no jail time. But growing any, possession of over an ounce, or selling marijuana is a felony and can lead to prison time and probation and all of those things.
All right, well, hey, thanks. That really helped me out because, like, I couldn't really find anything else.
All right, well, we're happy to help. That's the law in Oregon. Changes in different states. If you're across the Columbia River in Washington, the law there is possession of 40 grams or less is a misdemeanor and with a mandatory 1 day in jail. And so that's the Washington law. And possession of more than 40 grams is a felony in Washington State. It changes from state to state and county to county. If you go to the federal government, you have another whole set of laws to consider. So.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, bye.
Hey, you got through. If you have a call for us tonight, gee, we've got maybe another 10 minutes or so where we can take phone calls. Give us a call at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. I want to remind our viewers out there that we do have classes for medical patients on beginning marijuana cultivation, advanced gardening, how to make medical-grade hashish, and one car administering medical marijuana safely. All of those require a medical marijuana permit from the state of Hawaii. And then we have one class that's open to people who are not medical patients, and that's understanding Oregon's medical marijuana law. Also, you can pick up a copy of our newspaper, Hemp News, at all the libraries. Our distribution guys over here reminding me that go to the libraries and you can get our free newspaper, Hemp News. Also, if you're interested in volunteering for Hemp Stock, our festival in the summer, then give us a call at our number there that's on your screen, 503-235-4606. And we do have another caller. Hello, caller.
Hi, I wanted to ask about the exact price, how much it would cost to go to the doctor and get your card. If you don't have insurance or anything like that, how much is out of our pocket?
Well, you know, there are various businesses out there that do that. There's a doctor down in Southern Oregon by the name of George who sees patients in Roseburg. He requires that you come in 3 to 4 times a year to keep your medical marijuana card current. I'm not sure how much he costs. Different doctors charge different prices. Now, there's a fee that the state charges. Here in Oregon, that fee is $100, unless a person's on the Oregon Health Plan or on Social Security Supplemental Security Income Program, or SSI. If a person's on either one of those, then the state fee is $20. Now, because we are a cable access television show, we're not allowed to go into the economics of all the different doctors and all that, but I can promise you that we do have a referral to the lowest cost doctors at our number that's there on your screen if you're here in the Portland area.
Okay, yeah, because I'm in Portland. I really appreciate that because I do not have OHP, and
so you'll have to pay that state fee in Oregon of $100 to the state on top of what you have to pay your doctor when you see him. But we do have doctors who have a sliding scale for low-income people, and I know that we see patients every week for free. Probably, I can't say exactly how many, but obviously you can't pay much rent with that. But these doctors want to see patients who need these cards, and they're happy to make certain that people who are low income get a break.
Yeah, because it seems to me that people that have more money that can pay for the grow lights and pay for everything, it comes easy to them.
Yeah.
And people who don't, it's, you have to go out on the street, and it can be a big issue.
It's very, very expensive out on the street. There's no doubt about that. And so,
thank you very much.
You're welcome. Glad
Bye.
to do it. Thanks for calling. It really is. Money is a big issue, especially for sick and disabled people trying to cope with their pharmaceuticals, their rent, their food, their insurance, their transportation expenses on the minimum wage. Even with here in the Northwest, where we have the highest minimum wage in the country, it's still very, very difficult to make ends meet at those pay levels.
It is tough, and unfortunately, medicine costs money. It just does.
Right. When it's legal and when it can be grown on big trees outdoors, I see the price of good bud dropping down to $10 or $20 an ounce. I look forward to that day. And that's what we're working for, to end adult marijuana prohibition. These things grow on trees, and this one came off of a 7 or 8 foot tree, and we should have some bigger ones next year. And the bigger the plant, the more it produces, the less the cost overall. And if you can use the big grow bulb in the sky, otherwise known as the sun, you can save a lot of money on your electric bill. So then you've got to have some outdoor land that you can keep secure. Again, another costly problem for people with limited income. But once you get to that point, then the price comes way, way down. So persistence will pay. And when it's legal, I see the cost coming down very, very to a high degree where it'll be pretty low. But we have another caller. Hello, caller, you're on the show.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is
Hi.
JoJo.
Hey, JoJo.
Hey, my friends call me Joe Capone.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, hey, nice to talk to you guys. I'm glad to see you guys are out there promoting a good, healthy, pro-environmental lifestyle here.
Thank you.
This is great. Actually,
we've got this organic hemp protein powder here now. This is something from a new company.
Step out of the room because my brother-in-law is watching the show. He just yanked me from outside. I can barely hear with that going on.
Oh, I understand.
Are you still there?
I'm here, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, here's my question. My parents are both medical marijuana holders. They have been encouraging me to try and get my card. I was diagnosed bipolar several years ago. I do have, I'm a single father. I do maintain my own small business, but I do not have medical insurance or Oregon Health Plan. I've found that prescription drugs in the past have caused side effects that I'm not, too pleased with. And I found that marijuana, of course, is a great substitute for those, pills.
Sure.
So I was just curious if you guys had any,
information about that condition. In Oregon, the bipolar condition is not one of the covered conditions. I know cannabis is very useful for people with bipolar conditions. However, that's not included in Oregon's law. In fact, California is the only state that allows people to use cannabis for bipolar conditions or a number of other psychiatric conditions. However, if you're on medications for your condition that cause chronic nausea or other conditions, then those could qualify for medical marijuana. And so that's the situation here in Oregon.
Really? That's too bad. Is there any legislation that is going through at this time that you know of any organization that's fighting for that?
Yeah, the way to redress that is to write to the Oregon Health Department and urge them to include bipolar conditions, manic depression, depression in the medical marijuana law. There have been numerous letters to them. The more that they receive, the more likely it is that they will consider that and add it to the list of conditions. So far, they've only added Alzheimer's to the law since it was passed back in 1998. But for patients who are on medications for those other conditions, if those medications have some side effects, then cannabis could be recommended based on those side effects. So I wish I could give you better news,
It's amazing
but
me that we haven't progressed further along yet with the studies that have been shown so far, with everything that everybody's done so far medically in Oregon. I'm so proud of. I went through a bout of Hodgkin's lymphoma when I was younger, at about 13 years old, and I know all the pills they had me on then. My father just took a time out and said, here, smoke some of this, and I was enabled me to eat and make it through my chemotherapy rounds. And my grandmother, God rest her soul, died a few years back of pancreatic cancer, and she was a strong advocate against marijuana. However, in her last dying days with us, we were able to get her to go ahead and smoke a little marijuana, and it helped her probably live another 3 months, the doctor said, because she was able to eat and continue her regimen of the chemotherapy pills that she was prescribed.
Sure. Well, it's definitely of use out there. People who have, like yourself, bipolar conditions and other psychiatric conditions deserve to be able to use medical marijuana legally. Unfortunately, only California has that to date, and I'd urge you to write a letter, maybe get your family members to write a letter, and all our viewers, write a letter to the Department of Human Services, the Health Department, urge them to include those conditions in the law. But thanks for your call.
Well, thank you guys very much, and thank you for all you guys are doing. You guys are great. Keep up the good work. And, hey, can I get one question from you? Could you hold up that nugget you got there? What strain is that?
This is Northern Lights.
Northern Lights. That's
Nifty little Northern Lights bud there. Wish I could, wish you could smell it. We got to get smell-o-vision one of these days. Our technology will improve.
Oh, I'd be a proud sponsor of that as well.
All right.
Okay, you guys have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Thanks for your call.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we're wrapping up here. We don't have much time left. Just want to remind our viewers that if you're a medical marijuana patient, you need to find a caregiver, you need a little bit of extra medicine, or you need a plant to get your garden going, then next Saturday on the 10th, you want to be there early, be prepared, stand in a little line before you get in. I think the doors open at 11:30 and close at noon, and that's the Oregon Normal Medical Patient Meeting at Southeast 49th and Hawthorne at the Mount Tabor Theater. And then we have on the next day, February 11th, a religious ceremony for folks who are using marijuana as a sacrament at 3525 Northeast MLK. Service starts at 4 to 5 p.m. and then there is a potluck dinner, no pun intended there, I'm sure, starting at 5:30.
And don't forget our growing classes that start on February the 18th, which is a Sunday.
That's right. If you're out there and you're a medical patient and you need to learn how to do it or learn how to make medical grade hash, we'll be happy to help. Well, we're going to go out with the music of the great Tim Pate. Thanks for watching. Tune in next week and help us restore hemp.
Good night, Ramona.
Good night, folks.